Good morning, everybody. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated, and we will call the meeting to order. And note for the record that all board members are present. Good morning. Okay, I move the approval of the minutes from the November 17th, 2025 board meeting.
Second.
Second by Ms. Stewart. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. And on to ballot, and the chair recognizes Mr. Brian Clary. Good morning.
Morning.
Clary, Manager, Ballot Department. Before you should have a copy of the certification report and the official results from the November 4th, 2025 general election. There were a total of 226,104 ballots cast during this election, and they break down as follows. There were 165,087 ballots cast on election day. 48,478 ballots were cast in the 28-day vote by mail window. There were 8,122 ballots cast early in person here at the board. There were 1,415 ballots cast provisionally. There were 5 ballots cast post-election day. Those were all curbside ballots cast on election day. And there were 2,997 ballots returned in the 4-day cure window for post-vote by mail. Moving on to the vote by mail early in person summary. There were a total of 66,661 ballots issued during the vote by mail and early in person voting periods. Of those ballots, 59,597 or 89.4% were returned and counted by the ballot department. There were a total of 475 challenges or late vote by mail or in-person ballots, resulting in a 0.79 challenge rate for this election. That challenge rate actually drops to 0.19% when you exclude voters who return their ballot late. And below that, you have a breakdown of the reasons for challenges and the various categories to which all those ballots fell into. And I'll take any questions on the vote by mail early in-person summary if you have them now. Hearing none, we'll move on to the provisional voting summary. There was a total of 1,662 provisional ballots were cast during this election. Of those ballots, 1,415 or 85.14% were valid and tabulated by the ballot department. There were a total of 247 invalid provisional ballots, resulting in a 14.86 rejection rate for this election. That rejection rate drops to 7.21% when you exclude the voters who had already cast the vote by mail ballot or weren't even registered for the election. And then below that, you have a chart breaking down each of the rejection categories and the amount that fell within there. Any questions about the provisional summary? Hearing none. Moving on to the ballot remake portion. During this election, 226,104 ballots were cast, with 339 ballot sheets being processed in accordance with the approved adjudication policy. That makes for an overall remake rate of 0.15%. If you exclude the Cuyahoga ballots and people who voted for an eligible contest, that remake rate drops to 1.119%. And below that, you have a breakdown of each category in which the adjudications were done. There were 896 precincts involved in this election. Voter history is currently being prepared. Ballot reconciliation is ongoing. We do have 5 automatic recounts in this election. They are Bedford City School District, Board of Education member, Cleveland Member of Council, Ward 12, North Randall Village Council, North Royalton Council, Ward 6, and Orange City School District, Board of Education member. All of those recounts will be performed starting on December 1st. We'll post a recount schedule after that. Each one will be one day. We'll start with Ward 12, Cleveland Ward 12, because that's what everyone's interested in. But for the most part, the median everyone's interested in, and then we'll go largest to smallest from there. And again, we will post a recount schedule immediately following this election. The requested recount deadline is Monday, December 1st at 4 p.m. We're supposed to do the time and place of the post-election audit. We will have to wait till the requested recount deadline passes before we determine that time and date. We have to see if there are any requested recounts because by law we can't perform the audit until we certify the recount results. And Director Perlotti will address that further here in a minute. The 3 races we will be auditing are Cleveland Mayor, Cleveland Municipal Court Judge 1/1/2026, and Rocky River Municipal Court Judge 1/1/2026. And that's all determined by criteria. The Secretary of State says do the largest ones, so we just sorted them, did the largest ones that we had that were contested, and these are the 3 that came up. And the audit will be conducted using our normal risk-limiting audit method. And after that, you just have some comparison history. If you have any questions, I'll gladly take them now.
Thank you, Mr. Clary. Any questions from the board for Mr. Clary? Mr. Perlotti, anything that you need to say?
Good morning, everyone. I just want to, I think, really hit on two main topics. As Manager Cleary said, we do have 5 automatic recounts. Those recounts will start on Monday in accordance with the Ohio Election Official Manual, Ohio law. We cannot enter into a post-election audit until we certify the results of those recounts, and it doesn't need to be any change. We certify those recounts. So, what I would ask is if everyone's calendar, allows for, on December 9th would be a good time where we could have a board meeting. Manager Cleary and his department have done some calculations, and they feel like they will be able to complete all 5 of these automatic recounts using their best practices, and then that would allow them to do that, prepare a report, and come back for a meeting for certification. Now, if there happens to be a requested recount, could throw a monkey wrench into that schedule, and we won't know till 4:01 on Monday, December 1st. And if there is one, and reminding people, it's $80 per precinct, and we only include those things that are paid for. So if there's a contest that has 10 precincts and someone comes in and pays for one and it's $80, that's all we look at. We don't look at the rest. So that's just a reminder. But depending on what would happen there, that December 9th maybe would need to change or move. So then, assuming that we don't have any of those, we certify those recounts, and then the day following, these audits would start, and Manager Cleary and his team will be able to get through these 3 contests in time for our already scheduled December 16th meeting. So this way, we maintain the December 16th. We pretty much, except for some follow-up reports later on, we conclude the November 4th election and kind of put that thing to bed, which will be great. So want to do that. And while we are required to announce the date and time of the audit, we can't do that, knowing with the fact pattern that we have here. So what we can officially say is, upon certification of all recounts, the board will promptly start the audits.
Thank you. Board members, any questions?
One more note
Mr.
for the
Clary?
recounts. All candidates involved in the automatic recounts will be notified by the clerk of the board, so they'll know the date and the time of each of their recounts and the amount of counting teams they can bring in.
Okay, thank you. So we have the information before us, and you're looking for certification for 2 points A through E, correct? All inclusive. All right. Well, board members, I move, upon hearing Mr. Clary's report, the certification of the official election results from the November 4th, 2025 general election, including letters A through E, all inclusive. Second by Mr. McCafferty. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. The ayes have it. And Mr. Perlotti, you just spoke to issue 3, so we are not in a position to set the time and date for the post-election audit, and that'll be pending the results of the official recount, and then we will set that at our next meeting, correct? The actual
Yeah, we
date.
would actually correct. So if things go as we hope, on December 9th, we would be able to officially set that time, which would most likely be the 10th.
Okay, great. So we will move beyond item 3 and then go to agenda item 4. So I move the acknowledgement of the ballot proofs for the January 6, 2026 Oakwood Village Special Mayoral Election.
Second.
Second by Ms. Stewart. Any unreadiness? All in favor, aye. Aye, the ayes have it. On to candidate and petition services, we acknowledge the following resignation from elected office. Mary Eileen Kilbane, 8th District Court of Appeals Judge, term ending 12/31/2028. Second by Mr. McCafferty. All in favor, aye. Aye, the ayes have it. And on to our personnel agenda. I move to accept the promotion of Holly Bodie from clerk to the board administrative assistant to executive assistant to deputy director Gallagher effective December 1st, 2025.
Second.
Second by Mr. McCafferty. All in favor? Aye. Aye. The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. And on to new business, the chair recognizes Director Perlotti and then Deputy Director Gallagher. Sir?
All right, so I just want to, just a few comments on cleaning up or finishing out the November 4th, 2025 general election, and some of the things that we need to do and what some of the departments are doing to get us there. In no particular order, poll worker payroll, as well as all the election night assignments, that payroll has been completed, has been proofed, and has been submitted to the county fiscal department. And so what we had hoped is that next week that the county will run the checks and we'll get those out in the mail. So we've done what we can, and now it's just wait for fiscal to run those checks. Election support, Berman's Moving and Storage has returned all the equipment from the poll locations. They did it according to their timeline. Unfortunately, we had a couple things that got damaged, some of our cages and the scanner. And so staff are working with Assistant Prosecutor Musson to exercise the language that exists in the contract as far as providing notice and see how we can work with the vendor to have these damaged goods rectified. So we are moving along on that. The registration department, now that the election has been certified, they are now allowed to move forward with processing the voter history. They've done all the prep work for that, and they'll work with the IT department to get that applied. It is a multi-stage, multi-day process to apply all the different forms of voter history, depending on how you voted, into our system. We just heard the ballot department, they got some stuff in front of them, so they'll be busy working on these recounts all through next week to then roll into the audits. The fiscal department is busy processing invoices as fast as they can, contacting vendors to make sure we have all bills in. We have a county-imposed deadline that is approaching, in which we can pay bills and have those bills hit our 2025 budget as opposed to 26. We want them to hit 25, and so they are diligently processing those as fast as possible. All departments will be doing their post-election lessons learned meetings. Some departments have already started. Some departments, for example, like ballot, they probably need to do some of these other things that are in front of them, but we will get all the departmental lessons learned done, and then the management team will come together to discuss the I would say the bigger lessons and the things that we want to do new and enhance for the May primary. We will have at the December 16th meeting, the absentee services department, absentee voter services, will do their performance report of how their staff did for the early in-person process, and then in our January meeting, the poll worker department will give their poll worker performance report. So election day was a little while ago, but there's still plenty to do to get this all buttoned up and finished. So that's some highlights. Any questions?
No, thank you. Okay, Mr. Gallagher, anything that you need to add?
I'll just say that we're continuing to work with Public Works with moving operations out of the garage into the main building, and we'll be presenting an update at the next board meeting.
Thank you, Director and Deputy Director. There being no questions for you, the chair has received requests for public comment, and at this time, the chair recognizes Lori Eiler. I hope I pronounced that right. Is Lori present? All right. All right. The floor is yours. You have up to 5 minutes to address the board, and if you would please for the record, spell your name for our court reporter. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lorraine or Lori Urogdy Eiler. The last name is a double last name, no hyphen, Urogdy space Eiler. And I live at 15 Meadow Hill Lane in Moreland Hills, Ohio. Thank you for allowing me to address this board this morning. I greatly respect your duties, safeguarding the legality and fairness of our elections. Since moving to Ohio in 1978, I have voted in Cuyahoga County and appreciate the board's due diligence to ensure fairness. I'm a retired public school teacher who taught social studies over 35 years and have volunteered with organizations that ensure civil liberties, including election protection. And I would say that I have a general understanding of voters' rights and the laws required. I'm here today because I believe what occurred this past election day outside my polling site, the Orange High School Athletic Center, violated both the spirit and letter of election laws, and I am seeking investigation to ensure fundamental fairness across polling places in our county. It is my understanding that Ohio law protects the right to distribute literature outside the 100-foot neutral zone, even on school property when such property is a polling site, that Ohio law prohibits intimidation, coercion, or interference with lawful election activity, and that Ohio requires this board to investigate irregularities and violations of the law, which I appreciate. For the past 33 years, I have voted in person. When I have voted in person on Election Day, I have voted at an Orange campus polling site. This year was no different. Until this past election, it has been my experience that political literature distribution at my polling site has never been restricted outside the 100-foot neutral zone, and that has been over 3 decades. But this year, it was, and the restrictions came from individuals who I believe had no legal authority to do so, including the president of the Orange School Board, who was also a candidate on the ballot that day. I have made a complaint regarding what occurred with election protection and this board. When I arrived after polls opened at around 6:35 a.m. with literature in hand for a school candidate of my choice, Dr. Siobhan Taylor Nash, several people told me that a district employee, Ted Roseberry, told them literature was not allowed to be distributed on school property and signs had to be moved to the street. Seeing the Board of Election signs clearly outlining where literature could be distributed in both Spanish and English, and hearing this was not a poll worker issuing the directive, I believe that employee was mistaken. As voters passed outside the neutral zone, I respectfully asked them to consider my candidate and offered literature if they wanted to learn more. Before 9 a.m., Mr. Jeffrey Lykin, the president of the Orange School Board, and a candidate for re-election on the ballot that day, approached me while I stood outside the neutral zone. He told me I could not distribute literature, refused to look at the screenshot I had of this Board of Elections guidance saying we could, and repeatedly said that what I was doing was not allowed. He insisted I couldn't pass out the literature. I recognized him as our current school board. He was holding a sign for himself, school board president, I'm sorry. He was holding a sign for himself to be reelected, and I knew he was an attorney from his presentation at a local candidates forum that I attended. I told him I was going to call election protection. While I was talking to election protection, Mr. Lykin and Mr. Roseberry, who told my replacement volunteer, Anna Antoniou, the same thing, insisting she too could not pass out literature. While she insisted she too had the right to do so, she reported she felt intimidated. After talking to election protection, I began speaking to Mr. Roseberry, who was still there, and at no time was any district policy shown or posted anywhere that day. A Board of Election roving poll worker arrived shortly after my call. I explained what occurred. That poll worker confirmed we were 100% within our rights and that attempts to stop us were not lawful. He went inside to get the site manager, Peter, who also came out and confirmed we were in our rights to distribute materials outside the neutral zone. However, later in the day, after 4 p.m., that same site manager, Peter, returned outside and told us that the issue had gone all the way up the ladder. He stated while the Constitution and law were on our side, the Board of Elections did not want to lose a polling site and therefore would honor a school policy that allegedly prohibited distribution of political literature. I stopped distributing literature at that moment. Mr. Lykin was still there and stood behind me during that time. Others had already been chilled early in the day, and I remained at the polling site until after closing. We were never cleared again to distribute literature. After the election, I called using the number that was given to me by the poll worker and made a complaint to this Board of Elections on November 7th, and I attempted to multiple times to follow my up on my complaints. I also spoke to my school board, who is now, now amending policies. Respectfully, I ask this board to please conduct a full investigation into the actions of Mr. Roseberry, Mr. Lykin, and anyone involved in the polling sites manager's directive that was delivered after 4 p.m. to curtail our political literature distribution outside the neutral zone at the Orange High School Athletic Center polling site on Election Day to determine whether Board of Election staff were improperly pressured by school
Thank you,
districts.
Ms. Eiler.
Thank you
And
very
we
much for your
appreciate
time.
your advocacy, and staff can make the appropriate follow-up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll submit written comments.
Please do, and our clerks of the board will receive that from you. Okay, thank you so much. The chair recognizes Anna Antoniou. I hope I got that right.
Hello, my name is Anna Antoniou.
Antoniou.
Esteemed members of the Board of Education.
Excuse me, Ms. Antoniou.
Oh,
would you
election,
please,
sorry.
Would you
We
please
spoke
spell your name for the court reporter, please?
Oh, sure.
Yes, thank
My
you.
name is Anna, A-N-N-A, Antoniou, A-N-T-O-N-I-O-U.
Okay, thank you.
I live at 270 Meadow Hill Lane in Moreland Hills, Ohio.
Thank you, ma'am. You have 5 minutes to address the board, please.
Oh, thank you. Esteemed members of the Board of Election, we wouldn't be here unless we care deeply for the democratic process of free and fair elections, whether as volunteers or officials. I've volunteered for various candidates over the last several election cycles. I've been open to training for this work on a national and local level, and also to following candidate suggestions. I've made every effort to follow policy and good etiquette. On November 4th, 2025, I volunteered for the campaign of Orange School Board candidate Dr. Siobhan Taylor Nash at Orange High School. I can vouch for the experience as outlined by Lori Uregdi Eiler in her remarks, and I ask that if you have any questions regarding our experience, to please contact me. I've written an outline for the day, timed and with names. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you being here. And the chair recognizes Ruth Gillette.
Thank you for this opportunity to address the board. My name is Ruth Gillette, G as in George, I-L-L-E-T-T, and the address is 1517 Clarence Avenue, Lakewood. I'm here on behalf of myself and the League of Women Voters to speak to you about SB 293, which was passed by the state legislature last week. Among other things, this legislation would require all mail-in ballots to arrive at Board of Elections by 5 p.m. on the day of the election. I looked at the state Secretary of State's website this morning, their data chart regarding mail-in ballots, and by area and by age cohort and by party, it would appear that, first of all, rural counties disproportionately use the mail-in ballot process. By the age cohort, people in my age cohort disproportionately utilize the mail-in ballot. And party-wise, more Republicans use the mail-in ballot system than Democrats. So this is not really discriminatory. This is sort of across the board voter suppression for people who use that form to vote. And it has not been shown that this is susceptible to fraud. Rather, the stated reason is that it creates confusion in the minds of the voters because they don't know on the day of the election who has won the election. As we saw today, people generally don't know who won an election on the day of the election because of provisional ballots and other factors. So I know that the board, you all are appointed and have no, per se, legal standing. However, I think that the assault on voter rights throughout the country and in our state would require people to think about how they can stand up and speak out, particularly when you have this role to protect voter rights. So, you know, I would urge you to think outside the box. You know, maybe you could file a suit relative to this legislation, or at least do something publicly that lets voters know that you support our right to vote. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Gillette. Okay, the chair has received no requests for executive session, so therefore I move to recess the meeting. Second by Mr. McCafferty. All in favor, aye. Aye, the ayes have it. Have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving.